So let's just revise a little bit. Okay, so the 4 principles of Tai Chi, the 4 main ones. So what I call the 2 principles of station and the 2 principles of motion. So the 2 principles of stillness or station are getting your bum in. Yeah, so what that really means is that you're unifying the upper and the lower body. Yeah. So it's not just a matter of pulling the bum in. You then have to relax into that so that the sacrum can feel as though it's melting down into the back of the legs. Yeah. So there's a sense that you're slipping down the back of the legs and through the heels into the ground. Yeah, so this whole area, the sacral area, the hips and the sacrum, it really has to sort of change shape. Otherwise, you'll be leaning back a lot to get your upper and lower body. Yeah, so this is the reason really we do this exercise. Yeah, it's just to get some flexibility in the lower back so that we can join it into the legs without looking peculiar. So here, let's just start just doing this. So the important thing is when you draw in here, you don't let the bum stick out. Here, your tail is really coming down the legs. It's not sticking out behind you. So here, the lower back, the lordosis in the lower back is really disappearing. And then it reappears slightly here. So you're just going from one curvature to from the positive to the negative. And it's difficult to tell if you're getting it right or not. So this is why it's a good idea to have like a mirror here where you can see yourself. And again, just use the mind. Yeah, so part of your mind is with the motor, so with the muscle in the lower back and then the muscle in the belly. But another part of your mind is seeing the movement before it manifests, just slightly. So you're leading, part of your mind is leading the movement and part of your mind is generating the movement. So 2 quite different functions, but both equally important. So just feel the belly pulling in. This is the phase we need to fall in love with. Yeah? Because we're so in love with coming out and showing off, basically. We just have to just really get into just drawing in and just being happy, being on our own inside. It's the main problem with the human posture nowadays is just that the belly's not strong enough. So the belly should be constantly drawing in. It's like the elastic that's always pulling in. Okay, and then just back again. Okay, now we'll just do a bit of the reverse breathing now, but let's just start it off. Just feeling the effectiveness of breathing through the small hole. So just put your hands on your belly, yeah? And just start breathing through the small hole. So when you suck the air in, you should feel this whole area tightening. If you don't, then the hole isn't small enough, yeah? And then as you breathe out and you push through the small hole, it still stays tight, but it feels like it's being pressed out a bit. And then sucking in and out. And in and out. And just see if you can feel the very center of that tension. So for me, it's here. And that's the Dan Qian. So as you breathe in, if you have your finger on the Dan Qian, it should feel like you're trying to suck the finger inside and your belly is sort of closing around the finger. And then as you breathe out, you just blow it out, you push it out again. So the Dan Qian needs a lot of work before you begin to feel it properly and before it's there all the time as like your anchor, your lonely anchor, always drawing you back. So breathing in, the belly pulls in, and then breathing out. So the whole area becomes tense, but in the right way. And if we decide just to pull the muscles like this, we'll just overdo it. So we need some mechanism like the small hole. So that the pull is just very elastic. It's not this tense tightness. So it's the tension of toned fascia, not the tension of rigid muscle. So we want to train the muscles to behave as fascia. So they're just part of the connective system of the body. Okay. Now just bringing it out again. Yeah, so the reverse breathing, it just really draws you into the motor, into the Dan Chen, which is where we want the work to be starting. Yeah. And then from there, it sort of branches out into the muscles in the back, into the muscles in the belly, but it gets to the fingers, the very last of all. Okay, so that's the first principle of stillness, is just getting the upper and the lower body unified. And then the second one is just sink and relax. Yeah. But we want that to be such that it sets up what we call a dynamic equilibrium. So a sense that there's a flow down and there's a flow up. And the stillness is just the balance of these two flows. So it's quite precarious. Yeah, so you could quite easily just sort of topple and fall because you've refused to lock yourself into position. So it should feel, like if someone was to come and just give you a push, you'd fall over. You're not hard against the ground. Yeah, this is why we need to yield. So then if someone tries to push me over, instead of falling over, I don't want to fall over, but also I don't want to lock myself. So I just let myself flow with it, with the push, yeah? And so this sense of sinking down the spine, and then as soon as you get to the sacrum and the hips, it just spreads across and then flows down again. So your relaxation is spreading the hips and just gently driving you into the outside edges of the feet, which is, it's the beginning of the principle of roundness, if you like, yeah. And so this feeling that the feet are scooping the ground and bringing it up. My sinking is returning upward, yeah. This is very important. And it's just that magical moment where the sacrum just splits into two. So the one becoming two. It's that really allows it to happen. And so we just have to stand there and just, if you allow your mind to wander, then you'll have to lock your body. But also, if you allow your mind to think with words, you'll also have to lock your body. Yeah. So words require tension. And we're just trying to just split into the two. Yeah. And it's the same with the mind. We'd like the mind to just split into two. And this is the usefulness of meditation. When you're sitting there meditating, you can just relax the mind and just feel that the only way words can slip back in is if you pull that mind together in order to start thinking. And then you can just realize just how destructive that is. How violent it is. The very act of thinking is a violence. It violates nature. It violates reality. Yeah. And then just feel the three places in the body where the tension tends to gather. The chronic tension, the bad tension. So the jaw, the shoulders, and the hips. And we just want them to relax, yeah? And one way to do it is just think of like a figure of eight, just visualize a figure of eight. Because we want the jaw, we've got two shoulders, we've got two hips, we want to feel like we've got two jaws, yeah? And so I'm just seeing this sort of drunken flow that's just passing around the jaw or the shoulders or the hips, yeah? So using the figure of eight as a way of relaxing the body rather than just a way of setting up a pattern, Yeah. Yeah, so when you're properly relaxed, there's movement everywhere. Yeah. So we unify the body by getting the bum in, and then we relax until we're right at that edge, that dynamic equilibrium. And then from there, you just realize, shit, there's movement everywhere. Yeah. It's all, you feel drunk. Yeah. And that's just like sort of ripples passing through the fascia. And then that just gets us into the principles of motion. Yeah. And they are simply, single weighted. So having unified the body, bottom and top, we now split the body left and right. Yeah. So that, again, that's very much the spine dividing. Yeah. So the one divides into two. And then these two things start operating alternately. So you get a sense of one side tensing and the other side relaxing. So let's just try a little bit of this now. Yeah, so here we want to feel it getting into the feet. Yeah, so my foot opens as well as my hand, and then my foot grabs as well as my hand. So just trying to feel the action now coming from the foot and the toes on the ground. Yeah, so this is important, but it's quite a big leap from this to this. Yeah, it's quite a big, there's a real switch. Because here I've got to have this side of my body is tightening the belly, but this side of my body is tightening the back. So there's always going to be this sort of twist in the spine. Yeah, so just try and get it into the feet. Not that you'd really do that if you were doing your form. I mean, you can do. It's just really just trying to get the action as far from the hands as possible. And so if someone's watching you, what they'll see is your hands. So we disguise the motor, but we are with the motor. We are with the feet rather than with the hands. And it's the foot that's tightening. So it's the hand that's becoming the fist. That side of the body is the active one. Yeah, so the active part is the pulling the belly in. It's disappearing inside. You're drawing things in and hiding them, if you like. So here. and here. And that the other hand, it just goes out. You don't really think about the hand that's going out. It's the hand that's pulling in. That tends to be where we don't want to be. So we all tend to have weak bellies. You know, when people are really shy and they sort of just almost huddle. Yeah, so there's that sense, but we're huddling not because we're frightened, but because we've got this tone in the belly. We're drawing in order to whip something out in a sort of deadly way. So I'm drawing in into my cave. Yeah. So from the single weightedness, the full and empty, comes the turning. It's just natural. And those are the two principles of motion: full and empty and turning the waist. And again, we want to feel the turning really muscular, coming from this rather than from the hips. Yeah? The hips will turn, but it's a secondary. The hips aren't turning of themselves. I'm not directing the hips with my mind. So that would be me giving orders. I'm just passionately in the musculature of my midriff, and I'm just working that. And these turns are just natural. Ugh. And then just keep it going, and it just becomes the first warm-up exercise. Again, just trying to get it from the ground. So this foot really opens, and then it clenches, and that draws me around. And the hand that goes behind just becomes a fist and just taps the Min Meng gently, the gate of life. Ooh. Yeah, so you're working from the ground. And you just have to really mean it with your mind. You almost have to get angry to force the foot to really open and then really clench. Yeah? So then it's mind is pushing you into realms of spirit. Okay, so let's just take it into this one. So this is like a bit of relaxation really after that, but it's the same idea. This foot is clenching the ground. So when John did this one, he would bring the front hand up and strike his chest. Yeah, so it's like the thymus or the heart. And the back hand is trying to get up to the back heart. So the back hand is difficult. So you need certain flexibility. But again, we just want to try and get it coming from the foot, the action of the foot on the ground. Yeah, so the amount of work that you need to do on the belly is endless on the Dan Chen. Yeah. So basically, we have minds that are just totally out of control. And so we need to reel them in. We need to be able to just draw the mind in and put it to sleep, basically, to shut it up. And so there's a sense that the elastic here has to be able to pull something from up here down into it. It's like a bungee rubber. It's thick here and it's thin by the time it reaches wherever it's reaching. So it's a tentacle. It's a rubbery, elastic tentacle that's just pulling in. Okay, so let's just bring it out. And so I'm drawing in all the time, down to the belly. So it's the opposite of the average person who's using the muscles in their back to project themselves up and out. Yeah. So we're using the muscles in the belly to draw ourselves in and down, draw the mind. And that's meditation. You know, so meditation is just doing that, you know, whilst you're still. So it's just the talking mind that we're trying to draw down here. Yeah? And then your intending mind can just, whoa, it just moves the body. Yeah, you intend it first. Yeah, you see it, you see that movement. So I let my mind go, ooh, and my hand gets drawn up. Yeah? So your body is following this bright, clear trace of mind, of intending mind, nothing to do with thinking. So that's what you need good energy for, because most people can't intend, yeah, unless they get angry, and then they can let their energy out. But most people can't intend in a controlled way, and you just need good energy for it. which means just not wasting your energy doing other things. Yeah. So what we don't want is when we come into the front foot for this just to collapse forwards like that. So that would be just bringing too much weight forwards. So if we were just in bow and arrow, in riding horse, you know, it'd be relaxing and going out, outside edges. And so it's the same thing when we're in bow and arrow. We've just turned this here, but it's still this feeling that the outside edge is pressing into the ground. So this knee has to really work backwards without pulling the hip backwards. And this one is going into the outside edge as well. So just, you know, we have to remember that when we're in the front foot, it's only 70%. And that article that I sent you a while back, I mean, in there, he says 50-50. When you're in the front foot, it's 50-50. Yeah. So we just have to be careful that we don't get, if we get too much in the front foot, then you just lose the other half of the body. Yeah. Okay. And now just moving backwards and forwards and just feeling that as I'm coming forwards, I don't pull the back leg with me. As I go into the front foot, I'm actually extending the back foot backwards. Yeah, and then here, keeping that outside edge. Just maintain the contact with the outside edge of the foot. So here we're just really feeling the emptying of the leg. Yeah, so we have to feel the emptying as like a real letting go and expansion. Like the filling is like a compression. So as I come into the front foot, it's like the whole thing is tightening to hold me up. And I want to feel equally the back leg doing the opposite. So really opening and releasing. Yeah. And then here, this can then tighten. And just feel the tightening as like, just almost like the muscles here are just like sheets that are just squeezing the bone. Oh. And it won't just happen. We have to use mind. So I'm going into this foot. I really have to struggle to really release this leg. And then here. So if I just release this leg properly, it will just naturally keep this scoopy spoon sense of scooping the ground. And then here and whoo. So I want to feel the emptying leg becoming really active as I empty it. It's filling with energy. And the filling leg, the full leg is actually just filling with tightness, with strength. And again, it's mind. Yeah? So you're just using the mind, you're seeing it in your mind and thinking, if I wanted that to just really relax naturally, how clear would my mind have to be? How pure would my mind have to be? It can't possibly be anywhere else. Otherwise, it just won't happen. Yes, so most people have got a lot of residual tension in their legs. Their legs never really relax. And so we're just trying to this completely lets go. And when it does, it doesn't let go into deadness, it lets go into liveliness. Yeah. So I just release the leg, and it's got this sense of just wanting to come forwards and hug. So as I release the leg, something in it just reaches down to the ground and hugs and draws in. And that is because I've worked this well, yeah? So that feeling of reaching out and pulling in is then everywhere in my body. It's not just here. This is where it starts. But it's everywhere. It's in the sole of my foot as the foot empties. Oh, it's drawing. Yeah. And so I'm drawing that ground up through my leg and into my dantian. In exactly the same way as when I'm doing this with my hands. Yeah. Ooh. And we just got to get this and just try and just not let the bum stick out. It always wants to. And you can feel as soon as it does, everything's just weakened and compromised. Ooh. Yeah, so the work on the dantian, the breathing exercises we do, especially the alternate one, and also the crouching down on the ground to open the hip joints, they're the exercises really that will help this. So, okay, so let's try. And it's like, it's what I love about it is that it just gives a shape to the mind. It gives it, like compassion has a shape. Compassion is the shape of a hug. So this is compassion saying, come to me, I'll look after you. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens in the foot. When you release here, that's what happens in the foot. It's a compassionate act. John used to work on it. He used to think in terms of the knee making this sort of semicircle as you come forward. So you can think of that as well. You know, so you can work the knee, or you can, there's so many different ways of doing it. But just this sense that you're going, something is going out and just drawing in. You know, you're going out in order to draw the person in, not in order to hit them or push them away. You're going out and in they come. So this straight line, it can't keep on going. So it has to turn the corner and come back, yeah? So that's yielding. Yielding is the return. Ooh. Turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Ooh. Ooh. Now just try and keep it in the legs. Again, we want it to start in the foot and the legs and just come up into the upper body. Okay. So let's just bring it back. Yeah, so the 4 principles, you know, body as one unit, bum in, sink and relax, but into dynamic equilibrium rather than into a dead sunkness. And then full and empty or single weightedness, and turning the waist. Yeah, and we just have to be really careful that we don't conceive of the body as a stack of bricks. You know, it's not stacked from the ground. It's this elastic web with all the organs and the bones suspended within it. And it's just moving in quite a sexy way all the time. It's alive. It's breathing, it's throbbing gristle. That's what the connective tissue is really, it's just gristle. And then you can just feel the muscles as part of that and the bones as part of that. You know, they're just big bits of fascia really. They're quite rubbery, you know. Building out of the body. So the bone within the body is full of blood vessels, and it's different color. You know, it's really pink. Ooh. Okay, so let's just bring it up. So just feel the jaw, like a slack jaw. There's a lot of tension in the jaw, especially when you sleep. Okay, great.